Happy day students, I am Dr. Priya Iyer, Associate Professor from Department of Computer Science and Information Technology, MSc IT program. In today's session, I am going to focus on understanding generative AI. Moving on to the agenda of today's class, I am going to introduce you what is the definition of generative AI, its evolution, different features of generative AI, applications and its main architecture, the behind how the generative AI works and what are the different tools applicable or available in the market. Moving on to the exact definition here, generative AI refers to a class of artificial intelligence and its models have been designed to create the new content such as text, images, audio, video, etc. or even the code. And moving on to the exact the feature, what a generative AI is meant, it is not only useful to classify or analyze the data, it gives us or it generates us entirely new outputs. And moving on to the definition given by Elon Musk, it is the most powerful tool for creativity that has ever been created and it has the potential to unleash a new era of human innovation. So, moving on, we should know the exact difference between what AI, ML and DL and the generative AI. We have came across all these buzzwords and we know the traditional programming starts from writing C or Pascal code. Now, we are in the generation of generative AI. So, to know the exact difference, we know that this is an Venn diagram which shows how the AI is interrelated with generative AI. So, the bigger picture is the artificial intelligence. Within that we have the machine learning and the deep learning where the algorithms or some of the neurons, neural networking, these all happens and then the next generation is the generative AI. Here in generative AI, I already informed you it is not just analyzing the data, by culminating from different web pages or different points, it generates the patterns and gives you new output. So, here gives the basic definitions of AI, which says that it is like mimicking the human brain, the ML where the algorithms will present the data, deep learning where you will deal with image processing and here generative AI, it is a subset of general purpose AI which is used to generate the text, images, video, etc. Now, moving on, what are the different facts we can know about generative AI? So, we know that it is one thing or a technology which is used to create the content and many different tools are available in market right now. Some of the examples include either you can do with Dolly or Midjourney or Jasper, or you can just think of not only writing the textual information, even the code that can be automatically generated for any type of real world applications. And here if you come across the applications, it is varied from the content generation to the language translation, medical diagnosis, etc. And one more interesting fact about generative AI is it is even creating the 3D shapes. Moving on to the evolution, it was started in the year 1956. The birth of artificial intelligence is given by Dartmouth Summer Research Project and then it gradually goes with introducing the chatbots in 1964, in Deep Blue in 1997 or in 2014 GAN and in 2018 it is Open AI and moving on to the 2023 it is generative AI. So, now we have different models with generative AI. The older model is GP2 and now we are in T5. So, to know about little bit about these models, what this does, generative AI I said it is a content generation. So, it comes across with respect to the text generation, with respect to the understanding in text generation, with respect to the bidirectional text generation and with respect to adaptable writing task and now we are in T5 where you are handling the NLP task. NLP is a natural language processing where you can convert into any of the Desi languages. So, this is the overall model evolution of generative AI. Now, moving on to its features, what makes generative AI different from AI or ML or DL? So, the main features are the content generation is the first one, variability and novelty is the second feature, third one is the conditional generation. Depending upon how the user gives the input, the output is being generated by the system automatically. and here unsupervised learning. So, the system thinks of varied types of learning, you don't want to structure it. Okay. Then if you see, all the applications are creative applications, and you have very good challenges in case of training and evaluation. So, these are the key features that makes generative AI popular these days. And to explain in detail, we can say these are the different features. Content generation is one of the popular feature, where whatever the text you wish to generate, the generative AI gives you that contents. It just goes through different websites or social media pages and then generates the content. And other popular application I can say you as the language translation. Even if you have a content you upload, you want it to any converted into any of the Desi languages, you can do that. So, it accurately translates between the languages and it enhances the global communication. Now, moving on to the other important thing, we can take it as a chatbot, where you will have a virtual assistant, and this is one of the best feature of generative AI. And moving on to the other applications, we know in healthcare varied applications have been there with respect to the generative AI. If you consider the medical diagnosis, we can say that it helps for image analysis, and also it helps for the doctors to make decisions. And moving on to the other things, we know very well about the autonomous vehicles, where unmanned self-driving cars is there, and this decision making with respect to how it has to move or take a right or left, whatever it might be, how to understand the road sense, all these are the applications or some of the modules that have been implemented with the generative AI feature. And moving on to the last one, NLP, just now I summarized, in any of the languages you can do your programming, you can understand it, you can even think of the sentiment, chat or summarize the data. All these are the different features we can say with the generative AI application. Now, what technology is behind this? We have to understand, no, as students we should know what mathematical or logical behavior is there inside this AI to do all these miracles. So, one is the LLMs, large language models. So, this large language models handles the data properly, how much big function we are giving, how much big data we are giving, all this is being handled with this LLMs. And moving on, that computer scarcity challenge, orchestra of layer development and open source momentum, and quarrels for ethical AI and multimodal AI. With all these features in hand, generative AI is able to do or performing the best. Moving on to the different applications, we till now I discussed the features. The features are one of the applications we can say. So, the applications being segregated here, either it can be an image generation, or you can think of a photo translation, or you can think of an image resolution, or 3D shape generation, then text to speech generator, speech to speech conversion, text generation. Very interesting is the code generation. These days as computer science professionals, we might be as a students, we wish to do a bigger project and we might be searching for across the web pages. We may not get the correct code to incorporate in our real time projects. So, you can just take the help of these generative AI models or tools, whereby you can just put in the scenario and you will get the code sense with respect to Python language or any other Java, ASP like that. So, from that crunks you can take, and according to your application you can make the changes into the code and you can fit in. Then comes the music generation. This is very interesting part, where in our leisure times we will be bored with respect to listening to our usual music that was given in cinemas. So, if you want to create your own music, you can just use that particular tool and we can generate our own music given by the generative AI. And last one is the video generation. So, these are the popular applications of generative AI, where the users, instead of searching over the web, and we need to cull out which one is the best for that. So, this generative AI searches the entire net and gives us the appropriate correct what we are searching for, whether it is a text generation or a speech or a video or a code. And moving on to the workflow, we might be wondering how this happens. So, how the particular generative AI in current world context, how it is now? It is with respect to chatbot, you can check the performance of that, or you can do a content classification, or it can do a summarization for you, or it can do a question answering discovery session for you, and it is even very well with the content augmentation and the content creation. So, this to summarize, this is the overall ability of generative AI in the current world context. Now, moving on to the workflow, I said how this happens. It has 4 key components. You can think of a generative, adversarial networks, or generator, or discriminator, and adversarial training. So, using these 4 components, this generative AI is performing its huge task. I am not going deeper into this as it is a preliminary section. We just want to know what it is, what are the various tools, applications, working and all we will see separately with respect to the architecture. Now, moving on to the architecture to give an overall picture what components are there, just to analyze. We think this as a 3-phase model. First one is ingestion, second one is retrieval, third one is the inference. So, at the ingestion phase you are collecting the data, or the generative AI is collecting the data from various sources. It is embedding the data sources into the retrieval part, and in the retrieval it searches with the different types of applications, the UI models like the chat model, prompt model or prompt library you are having, or you can think of a vector DB or the training pipeline. So, these are the different applications or apps interconnected which makes the orchestra of Gen AI. And moving on to the third one, with all this it is inferring you through the tools that are available. Okay. So, this is the general architecture of the generative AI. Now, lastly, to just be fascinating to know what are the tools that helps us to do all this, we can think of ChatGPT is the first one which generates human like text, and we can have the daily conversations with it, and DALL-E is used to create the images, and Midjourney is an product which produces artistic style of images from the text, and GitHub Copilot gives us how to write the codes basing on the natural language, and here Google Gemini is there which does the multimodal AI searches for writing and analyzing, and we have the Hugging Face which is an open source AI model. It is mainly used for generating the OpenAI using the open source tools, and these are the big shot companies which gives the or providing the Gen AI services. Now, to conclude or summarize the today's session, in today's session we have just discussed what a generative AI is. So, we know many buzzwords in computer science like machine learning, deep learning, or we think of generative AI now. So, I just want to know exact difference between what it is. So, generative AI is the automatic generation of the image, text or the content. Okay. Now, after knowing the exact definition, we come across what are the different real world applications that are working with generative AI. We have seen some of the applications like content generation, video generation, or working with NLP, and then the automatic code generation. And then we have looked on different tools that have been we can use in our daily while doing our projects, etc. And to say what is the magic of Gen AI, it is think it, prompt it and create it. Thank you students, we will meet in next session soon.